What is up, Big Oof Podcast? I'm back, and today is Thanksgiving. Happy holiday, everybody. Um, Christmas is right around the corner, but today I ate I feel like a stuffed pig. I ate copious amounts of food. I'm pretty sure I ate as much food as I weigh, so I will not be doing any more eating till next week. Who knows? Food is kind of off uh, off my mind right now, and it hurts to walk. So, I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. I've been planning on doing another podcast for a while. I'm sorry I haven't gotten to it, guys. Been busy. Um, but I'm back, and I'm gonna try and keep it on a regular now. Hopefully, everybody can watch this one. And I'm glad to be back, but uh, yeah. So I've been watching this Netflix series. Well, I didn't know it was on Netflix. There's a show called Meat Eater by Steven Ranella, and I'm pretty big into hunting. Hunting and fishing are pretty big aspects of my life, and uh, so I was watching these clips on YouTube meet about the show named Meat Eater from this guy named Steven Ranella, who also has a podcast named Meat Eater. He's on the Joe Rogan Experience, I believe, and I was just surfing Netflix and I saw there was a Netflix original Meat Eater, and I was like, no way. So I gotta watch this. So I binge watched Meat Eater, like all 3 seasons that were on Netflix. One thing that I don't like about Netflix though is, uh, like they'll give you seasons 5, 6, and 7, but not 1 through 4 leading up. See, even though if the show's not in like chronological order and it doesn't matter, and each episode is different from like there's not a main plot to it, I still want to see some of the early episodes of the show. No, that's just me, but I'm happy I could watch Meat Eater on my Netflix account rather than pay like an ungodly amount of money for the full show. And to be honest, like I'm not about that. Uh, but yeah, and I wanted to go hunting this Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if let me see. Let me make a quick fact check real quick. Man, I need a Jamie. I need a Jamie in the studio. Hey, Jamie, can you pull that up? So, Kentucky deer season. It should still be. Yeah, it's still deer season. Today's the last. Still archery season. Crossbow season. Uh, so let's see here. November 10th through the 25th is modern gun. So it is still modern gun season if you want to go deer hunt right now in Kentucky. I don't know the zone for that, but you should check your local county and make sure that you're hunting legally, because there's nothing more that I hate than illegal hunting. I mean, poaching. I can't stand poachers. Poachers annoy me. Uh, I don't understand. Like it's just people who take animals out of season two. Like, um, I can see if you have a pest problem and you have squirrels in your backyard, and well, not in your like if you live out in the country and you have squirrels in your backyard and they're a pest to a garden, I can understand that. Or chipmunks and squirrels. Uh, but like if a deer walks into your backyard and it's out of season, and you don't have, well, first of all, even if you don't have a license, like if you don't have a license or your orange card or whatever you need, you shouldn't even be thinking about taking that animal and harvesting it. Uh, I believe the here in Kentucky, that's a big problem, is out of season hunting. Just because of we live in Kentucky. Rip. So anyway, yeah, I was watching Meat Eater, and some of my favorite episodes are the ones where he goes catfish jugging. Now Steve, like I catfish jug in Alabama. I actually caught a 15-pound catfish on a jug. Because the reason why we jug is the water. Like, right, so in Alabama during the winter, it's too cold. It's too cold to fish sometimes. And I know that's weird because it's Alabama. It's supposed to be warm. It's the South. Yeah, when it's windy and there's like 20, 30 mile an hour winds on a lake, and you're in a boat, not a very large boat either, like uh, a 1999 bass boat. I forgot the model. I'll pull it up or something like that. But so our boat, it's not that like it sits real low in the water. So if you come up on the waves, right, and you're going at least maybe 32,000 RPM on a 40 horsepower motor, right, you're going somewhat fast, and the waves are bouncing the boat up and down every time you hit the wave. So every time you hit another wave, the water splashes onto you, and it's cold, and the wind is cold, and everything's cold. And so what we did was, instead of crappie fishing, because you can't keep your boat in one place even if you have an anchor, and it's we just couldn't find the crappie last year. What we decided to do was we decided to take these 2-liter bottles and put them together and put a rope at the end of one, so when the fish bites it, the leader goes up. So we did that, and we experimented with the Walmart brand baits. Now the Walmart brand baits are, in my opinion, I've never caught a fish on the catfish bait that Walmart offers. Not saying you won't. I'm saying for jugging, it just doesn't work. And probably because of the lake that we were on, the catfish just don't want that bait. They were biting on minnows. But we didn't try chicken liver. I know that's a very popular bait, chicken liver, peanut butter, or we're going to try chicken liver and garlic salt. But we usually go for channel cats when we jug, because that's one of the channel cats and blues are some of the biggest cats you can catch in that river, and it's a really long river. So once you get on the main channel, it goes down to like 100 feet, but ain't no way I'm pulling 100 feet of rope. And so I'll tell you a story, how I caught our first 15-pounder. So we've caught 2 15-pounders in 2018 on jugs. First one, I was on Christmas break, and I was like, all right, I want to try this jugging thing. Jugging seemed like a pretty cool idea, and because we weren't catching it, I maybe caught 1 or 2 bass, but they were like the bass are really lethargic in the winter. They do not want to eat or move or do anything. They're kind of like me on Thanksgiving. They don't want to eat or move. And so anyway, for Christmas, I had just gotten a new bait caster. It was the Shimano Casistis. Man, I love that reel, and Shimano rod. And so I was out bass fishing with that, and I was just throwing in some deeper bodies of water, covering some ground with a deep diving crankbait, and I caught maybe 2 or 3 like decent fish, and I was like, well, I'm not getting anything. So then we tried crappie fishing, and crappie fishing didn't go very well. We tried a spot where it worked in last summer, where these guys had these lights underneath, they'd have this dock, right, and they had a boathouse, and the boathouse sat on the water, and so where it sat on the water, it was like 20 feet out would be the main channel, right, and so we pull our boat up to the just off the main channel, and there was these underwater lights that you could see these crappies circling and swimming around, and we were pulling huge crappie out of these lights. Like, we would just lower our minnows or our jigs down into the light, and there was just schools of crappie that would circle these lights. I mean, it was insane. There was over 100 crappie in each light, and you just jig your minnow or crappie jig, and you'd pull out these monster crappies, just these slabs, and they were so good to eat. Like, I think that night was some of the best crappie fishing I've ever had. And then but that was in the summer. That was in my 8th grade summer. Yeah, 8th grade summer. And so the story I'm telling now is in my freshman year Christmas break. And so anyway, none of that was working. So I devised this plan, right? I take gallon jugs, because I was drinking a gallon of water a day. And so after I finished my gallon, right, I had already had like maybe 5 spare gallon like jugs just laying around the house. Me and my grandfather took like maybe, I couldn't tell you, maybe about maybe 25 feet of rope, and put a large egg weight sinker on, not an egg weight sinker, it was some sinker. We just found some maybe like an ounce or larger than that sinker, and it so we took the sinker, and we would put it, and we'd take these, maybe, I forgot that it was like maybe 2/0, 1/0, it was, I'm pretty sure it was 2/0, and we'd get this crude kind of jug, right, and we'd put reflective tape on the jug because we'd go get them at night. So first night, right, I take my cassie net, throw it out, and I get maybe like 2 or 3 shad in there. So I go out onto the water, and I go out onto the main channel, which is like maybe a 5-10 minute boat. No, maybe it's like a 5-minute boat ride to the main channel. So go out to the main channel, and I string all my jugs across this main channel, right? And at maybe 4 a.m. I go out and I check my jugs. And so I'm looking around, and with the spotlight. So I got the spotlight, and sorry about that, guys. And so I got the spotlight, and I'm searching around the water looking for this reflective tape. And the reflective tape, I can see maybe 1 or 2 bobbing jugs in the distance. And so I sit down, turn the motor on, and I rev up to the jug. And while we're at there, I made this, like, while we were waiting, I made this gaff. And a gaff is basically this long pole. It's got a hook at the end that you can, instead of reaching down into the water to grab the rope, you drive slowly in, and you kind of grab the rope with the gaff, and you pull it up. And so anyway, we pulled maybe 5 or 6 catfish out, but they weren't big. Like, they were like maybe 2-3 pounders, and the 1 5-pounder. And so we drive home, and we come up with another plan. And so I'm fishing off my dock, right? And I catch maybe 2 or 3 decent sized bluegill. And these bluegill are like that big. They're good bait bluegill. And I'm like, all right, well, let me try a bluegill. So what I did was I cut these bluegills up into chunk bait, and I put them on the hooks. And so we go set these jugs out, right? And I'm driving through looking for my jugs. Couldn't find one jug that night, so it's still out there somewhere. And so I'm jugging, and the way the water is you come out of our cove, and you go and you go out into this secondary cove, and you go out of the secondary cove, and you go into the main lake. And so there's a point on the main lake, and off that, like maybe 100 feet off that point, I see a jug, and I'm figuring, oh, it's probably hung up on a branch or a log on the water, right? So we pull up to the I slow down, pull up to there. Grandfather's got this gaff, right? And he pulls this gaff, right? And it jerks, and it almost threw the gaff in the water. And he's like, I think it's stuck on a rock. And so what I did was I turned the boat around, and I drove even, like, I stopped at it, and that jug just starts flying. Like, the jug just takes off. Like, if you ever seen the movie Jaws, um, how the barrels are, and like when they shoot the shark with the harpoon barrels, it's like that. That's as close as I can picture it for you guys, is when he's chasing the shark. But anyway, so we're chasing this jug, right? And this jug goes about maybe a mile downriver, and we're chasing it because, I mean, of course we could have gone and we could have got it, but like it kept going down and up, down and up, so you kind of like you had to wait for the fish to stop. And so we finally boated down. Guys, I'm so sorry for that. Yeah, my ringtone's Master of Puppets. That's pretty cool. Oh, going to see Metallica March 9th at the KFC Yum Center. That's going to be fun. I'm excited about that. I got for my birthday. My birthday was November 15th. I got my permit. Driving's pretty fun. I'll get to that later. But anyway, so we finally get this fish in, right? And we're pulling it up, and we're like, man, what is this? It's probably like, we're thinking it's we knew it was a catfish, but we had no clue the way it was. And it was fighting on this rope, and we pull it in, and we get the net, right? Well, no, first time I caught one, we didn't have a net. Like, I was like, no, we're not bringing the net. And so I pulled the net up, and I actually have a scar from the catfish. It tore the skin off my index finger because I reached down and grabbed its mouth to pull it in the boat, and it bit me, and it tore. It was like if you ever feel catfish's teeth, like they're like it's like little rows of sandpaper. And so I put my hand in its mouth to grab it, and I should have put it in its gills, but these teeth are so sharp. I don't know, like they were just really sharp, and I pull it, and it bit me, and my finger, it just tore the skin off my finger, and I was like, oh, well, ow. And so we finally get this 15-pound cat in the boat, and we're driving back home, and so I pull up to our dock, and I managed to get this 15-pound catfish out of the boat, right? And our neighbor at the time, Keith, he was like, oh my God, what is that? And we go over there and we show him, and he's like, hold up, let me get a picture of this. And Keith took a picture, and we showed our other next door neighbor, Eddie and Carol, and they were like, holy crap. And so processing the fish, like cleaning the fish, was a pain. And after watching that episode of Meat Eater, I would have done things a lot differently. We're going to try garlic, salt, and chicken liver as our next bait. And then we're gonna clean the fish a little bit more different. I filleted the fish because you can't really clean a cat. You can't really clean a fish. Well, you can clean a 15-pound catfish, but it's just too much work. So I filleted it that time. And I would have filleted a lot differently this time. I'm not a big fan on filleting. Well, I like filleting and I don't like filleting. It depends on the fish. But I used the bones, and I made a soup stock out of it. And so that was actually some of the best soup I ever had with some of that. There's some soups that rank up there as some of the best soups I've had. I know a guy who makes a great vegetable soup. Like, it just is so good. I've vegetable soup, miso soup, wonton soup. Man, I just love soup. Soups are like, especially when you're not feeling good, or it's just a cold day. Soup or chili, man. Soup or chili. Anyway, so I just recently turned 16. Got my permit on my birthday, and drove from the courthouse to my school. That was an experience, because I've never uh, driven in traffic before. And so I drove a couple days ago on the interstate for the first time at night, and that was an eye-opening. Like I was like, "Holy crap, this is insane!" And then I drove yesterday. I drove. Me and my friend Curtis went to go play some pool. So I drove to his house, and his house like he lives when you got to take this road that's like super windy, and it's got these really sharp curves, and it's almost like if you live in West, like if they're like it's like the best way I could describe it is West Virginia roads where there's like there's no side shoulder, it's really narrow, sharp turns, and you got people that go on these turns like the recommended speed might be 30, but you got people on that going 50 for real. Like that's no joke. And so you really got to be careful. And then I drove back at night because it gets dark at like 5 or 6 here, and it's not a pleasurable experience if you're driving at night, and you got to worry about other drivers not driving really safe. And of course, I'm just learning and things. I'm still learning things, but for the most part, I'm doing pretty good. Drove to Cabela's. That was really fun. Driving on the interstate to Lexington. Riding a car, like riding inside the car for 15 years. You're like, oh, we got to go to this place and this place. But I can drive for a while, but riding is just kind of like, ugh. But sometimes in my mind, I'm like, well, I should probably drive tonight and tomorrow, and I should probably I have not driven anywhere today because it was Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, get this, we don't eat turkey for Thanksgiving. That's like, we're not a turkey. Like I'll eat turkey, unless it's a turkey that I have personally shot and killed. I'm not a fan. But we had steaks, and man, those are some good steaks. I really wanted. I was gonna have an. So when I went to Cabela's yesterday, I went to the overpriced cafe that they have, and the menu on the sign, like the sign on the menu, it said elk sandwiches. Like I was like, what? I was like, what? Elk? I was like, Steven Ranella? I was like, is this Steven Ranella elk? And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I want to have me an elk sandwich. And I go up there and I'm like, yeah, can I get an elk sandwich, basically with lettuce, tomato, just like it was like an elk club basically. And they were like, oh well, no, we don't have elk. And I was like, I was so disappointed. Like that was probably the most disappointed I've been in a while. And the woman there was like, we have bison and we have boar. And I was like, okay. So honestly, in retrospect, I should have gone to Ted's Montana Grill where they have the bison there, because some of the best food I've ever had was at Ted's. Like best game. I don't know if bison is a game. I don't know. I don't know, but bison's pretty good. Boar. I've had boar. Then my neighbor Keith, that I was just talked about a couple minutes ago. He's a hunter, man. He's like a dentist, and he does like root canal stuff, and he goes out to Colorado and hunts these elk. And I went to his house one time, and he had these huge trophies, like these huge like buck bull trophies, and I was like, holy crap, like this guy's no joke. And so I always want to go hunt elk, and like I always want to go hunt. My list is elk, mountain lion, bear, brown and black bear, reindeer, and some other species. But on the top of that list is elk, because I think, man, elk are just majestic creatures. especially those like bull elks, and they're just so like, I don't want to say weird, but they're cool. Like elk are cool, cause the way their antlers are and the way like they call that like screeching, like you would never guess that creature would make that sound. It's so weird. Like I bet you, when people first got into the Colorados or the Rockies or anywhere that there were elk, and they heard that elk screech, like that really loud, like that high pitch vocalization from that animal, I bet they were like, "Holy crap, what is that?" I mean, you would not expect that from a something out of the deer family. Red deer are pretty cool. Um, I'd I'd like to hunt red deer. Sitka deer. After watching Meat Eater, want to go hunt some Sitka deer. There's just a lot of animals I like to hunt, cause I've fished for the majority of my life. Like if I were to pick a group of fish that I would like regularly catch, it'd be largemouth, smallmouth, pike, variations of the trout family like rainbow and brook trout, steelhead. I I hmm. But I'm a big bass fisherman. Like most of my tackle comprises of bass fishing and muskie. I want to go catch a muskie. I want to go fish muskie so bad. Uh, if you don't know what a muskie is like if you I can't explain it. It's one of these uh it's a huge fish, like just huge fish, and they're like pike. They're like the northern pike or walleye, and they're just huge. Like they're just enormous fish. Like they get up to 42 inches. That's insane. Um, what else? Muskie, pike, of course. Pike. They've got these teeth, man. Like you cannot hold a pike like you would a bass. You'd cut yourself horribly. Smallmouth. I don't do much smallmouth fishing just because I don't fish where there's smallmouth. Like there's a decent smallmouth population. Like I'll fish, but there's no like smallmouth population near me. Where I wanna go fish smallmouth is New River in West Virginia. Uh, Man, there's smallmouth. They put up such a good fight. Like I've caught smallmouth in the past, but they put up such a great fight. Like it's there's no comparison to largemouth. Like you can, so a largemouth over 5 pounds is either gonna be a diver or a jumper. Uh, Most of the largemouth that I catch here, not here, but in Alabama, uh, they're jumpers. Um, the last 5 pounder I caught was with a swim jig, and I had a custom made trailer on there, and I was bumping it along, and man, this I just felt this huge, just, and it was like a smart car was my bait, and a semi truck was the largemouth, and it just crushed it like it was when kids go fishing, they're like, "Oh, what does it feel like when you catch a bass?" Now, sometimes, it's hard to distinguish a bite from a rock or a bump because the way like the bait might move and jerk, but a large fish, there's no other feeling, and you tell like if you ever go fishing with somebody and they're like, "Well, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to get a bite?" And you hook onto, like, if a large fish hooks onto your bait, then you'll know. Like there's no other comparison to it. Like you might get snagged on like there's a section of the lake called Greensport, and it's like this cove where it used to be a marina, and so there's like a road that goes into the water that used to be a road that goes into the water, and on the side of the road there's barbed wire fence, and so the bass like to be in that cover, and so you'll throw it along, and you'll just move it along, and there's tears in the fence where it goes out in certain ways, and it'll snag on the barbed wire, and it'll feel like you got a fish, because the way a jig works, right, is you've got it's like a hook, and it's like that on the. I wish I could show you. It's like that on it, and so you're jigging it along, right? You're jigging it along, and the fish grabs onto the hook, and that's like like the jigs. I only use a jig when well, I'm a jig man. Like I really only use a jig. Jigs to me are like they're like salsa to tortilla chips. You just can't go wrong. They go so well together. Jigs and bass. You could mimic so many things with a jig. You could mimic crawdads. You could mimic injured bait fish. You could just do so many things with a jig. I know my favorite colors to use on a jig are really dark natural colors, and like I'll put reds, or my favorite jig skirt color is it's called peanut butter, and so it's like a brown, purple, and bluish mix, and it's really good for the lakes that I fish. Now, spinner baits are like a moving jig with some extra flair to it. Now, you can I've seen trailers be put on spinner baits, trailer hooks, all kinds of things. For spinner bait, it's different though. Like a white or a yellow or chartreuse skirt works great with spinner baits. I don't know what it is, man. I'm not a big fan of spinner baits. Like, they're just not, like, if I want to cover a lot of water, I'll use a crankbait. But if like I never really touch, like, I have a section in my tackle box for, well, not my tackle box, but my tackle storage for spinner baits, but I rarely use, like, I'll use them in the spring, like when it's when the season comes around, for like when spring rolls around, I'll throw spinner baits, I'll throw a lot of soft plastics. Oh, Yamamoto, the Yamamoto Senkos, they're just Senkos, man. I can't get enough of Senkos. I have over like 20 bags of Yamamoto Senkos. They're just I swear by them. You could wacky rig it, Texas rig it, Carolina rig it, all kinds of rigs, weightless. So many options with Senkos, man. And there's such a, like, you'll use the off-brand Senkos, and nothing compares to the Yamamoto ones. Like, you can get close, but it's just the Yamamoto so much better. I know I throw a Yamamoto. I throw a wacky rig in the summer and the springtime, and that's like wacky. Like, the main way I wacky, like the main like rig I'll use for a Senko is wacky, and it took me forever to find, because they were always running out of stock, this wacky rig tool. Right, it's like this little aluminum cylinder that's got these rubber bands at the end. You slide these rubber bands onto the Senko, right? And you take your wacky rig hook, and yes, they make special hooks for this. You could use any other hook, but I used wacky, like the special hooks for the wacky rigs. And you put it one end through the soft plastic, and you go up through the rubber band. So when your wacky rig, because the way a wacky rig works is, like, if my finger's the worm, right? There's a rubber band in the middle, and then the hook is coming up through the middle of the worm, and it's coming out. So, like, the way it looks in the water is you jerk it like that, and it falls and it flutters like that. And when the bass hit the Senkos, when it falls, when it makes that little flutter, they loved it, man. They can't the bass can't get enough of the flutter. But yeah, Fishing is. I got my fishing license. Not my fishing license. Now I have to get a fishing license because I'm 16. Uh, I need to do that. Um, Boating license. I got my boating license long time ago, and that took forever. It's nothing like the driver's license. Uh, my boating license. It took me about 3 months to get, just because I wouldn't like. It's an online thing you got to do, and it's not like you gotta. It's not like the driver's. It's not like the driver's permit where you study for it and you go take it when you're eligible at the courthouse annex, um, or the DMV, wherever you take it, and you take it on these like ATM looking machines. The boating license is different. You gotta, for your certificate, you gotta take it online, and you gotta know all kinds of stuff like outboard, inboard, who's got the right of way on the water, passing, all kinds of stuff, navigation, fishing and hunting rules. It's weird, um, but yeah, and it's the same. It's like the same deal. Like you gotta get an 80 to pass, and I'm pretty sure I passed with the 100 on my boating license, and that was a while ago. That was like eighth grade, eighth grade summer. I got my boating license. Ugh, man, I'm still full from Thanksgiving. I just can't get enough of it. This podcast might only be 50 minutes, guys. I've got to go in preparation for Black Friday. That's right, yeah. So Black Friday is this week, and Black Friday should be pretty fun. I don't want to get trampled. I'm not going to Walmart. I think I might go to Cabela's tomorrow for Black Friday, just to see what they got on sale. So replying to some Snapchats. So anyway, Black Friday. Black Friday. I maybe did Black Friday once. Like I maybe participated in Black Friday once in my entire life, and that was last year. And I was at Walmart, and I saw my friend get trampled by some like 6'4" woman. Not fun. What else? What else is going on this week? I haven't watched much football. Kentucky basketball. All kinds of stuff, man. All kinds of stuff's going on. I mean, I don't watch much sports, like college sports. I usually just watch Glory Kickboxing and some of the Fox UFC that are free, because I don't want to pay for. I don't pay for pay-per-view UFC unless it's like a big one that I want to watch. I've kind of lost it with UFC and stuff. Oh, Conor McGregor taking that L to Khabib. I know this is really late and stuff. Oh, yeah, Mayweather fighting that kickboxer. He's gonna get his butt whooped, especially if it's kickboxing rules. Dog, you may know how to box, but once you throw in kicks to that equation, it's a whole nother ball game. And I know he's training for it and stuff, but bro, come on. This kid's insane. Like, I was watching a highlight reel of him, and he's insane. What I want to see is boxing versus kickboxing, where the boxer doesn't throw any kicks. And then I want to see BJJ versus wrestling, where I know you can watch it in the UFC, but then there's striking involved, and striking adds a whole different ball game to it, because then you got punches and kicks, and you can set up things. But I just want to see like a straight up grappling match, like a 5-minute grappling match between a wrestler and a BJJ. I want to say a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and a college NCAA wrestler. I feel like that'd be a good match. Like maybe, and I know like that's like whoa, that'd be pretty. I feel like in my opinion that'd be fun to watch, but I really want to see a kickboxer versus a boxer. Uh, like somebody who's pro in both sides and have, I want to say, a good record. Like they can't just find some guy who's like 0-13 as a pro. Like, can you go 0-13 as a pro? I don't think you. Well, I don't know. It's pretty sad if you're 0-13 as a pro though. I also want to see. What is it? I'm excited to watch the AKA Warrior Cup this year on sportsmartialarts.com. I know that's like the big NASCA one in Chicago. And then the NASCA awards banquet is like in January. I know that. I was gonna compete not Saturday, but a couple, like I think on the 17th at a tournament, but I got sick Friday. Like I was just not feeling it. I woke up and I felt like I was going to die. Like I felt as if my body was being drenched in a goop, like slime, if that makes sense. Like I was just like, I just didn't feel good. I know that's like a weird analogy, but like I was sweating. I didn't feel easy, and I was going to drive to Louisville that day too, because I had just got my license on the 15th. And that was going to be the first time I was on the interstate. Actually, first time I was on the interstate was at night, going to buy a suit jacket, because I have a banquet coming up in about less than a month. So that's all I know about that. But I don't know. There might be some cool stuff when I go to Cabela's tomorrow. I know for sure. Ooh, Red Dead Redemption. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption. Well, the second one. I've played the first one on the Xbox. I had the first one on the Xbox 360. And I had some of my best and most favorited, cherished moments were on Red Dead Redemption, on the multiplayer, and I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped for the multiplayer. Red Dead Redemption. I know that I heard that comes out at the end of November, and guess what? At the end of November is coming soon. So anyway, November. I don't know. They were saying something about November at the end. I'm not gonna say any spoilers about Red Dead Redemption 2 if you're watching this and you haven't played through all of it. But the main character, Arthur Morgan, man, it was such a good story. I played all. It took me. I got the game on a Saturday or Sunday, and it took me till Friday to beat it. And I know, like, cause I was playing it, man, and it was such a great game. Arthur Morgan, the guy that you get introduced to at the beginning, the guy as you play as in the beginning, he's a character. And I really want to watch a couple more videos about the like, I didn't read anything. I just played the game. Like, I don't remember anything about him significantly, like some of his backstory. But I'm glad that we got to see some of Dutch Vanderland's backstory and John Marston's backstory. I feel like those two things are kind of crucial. And you got to see Bill Williamson in the game, and Javier Escuela. Both of those you saw in Red Dead Redemption. If you haven't played Red Dead Redemption, you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2. You need to go and you need to play Red Dead. I'm not sure if the multiplayer is still a thing on Red Dead Redemption. Undead Nightmare. I wonder if Rockstar is going to do an Undead Nightmare like what they did with that, except they do, like, I don't want to see Undead Nightmare 2, but Undead Nightmare was so fun. I had some good moments on there. I remember the horses that you could not capture, but tame, and they were like the apocalypse horses, and I had the fiery one. Man, I had some fun times on there. Red Dead Redemption 2, like, considering it was put in the works for 8 years, is insane. The graphics, the physics, everything's just insane. The dialogue, the mechanics, fishing and hunting in that game. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not gonna go into like too much detail about that. Oh, my sister's black belt test is coming up in December, so I'm hyped for that. I wanted to go see her get her black belt. No, not get her black belt. Earn her black belt. I've been looking forward to that for a while now. She can join the pond. Not the pond. She's gonna come out of the pond and into the lake. 'Cause once you get your black belt and you go compete in a tournament, there's no more beginner, intermediate, advanced division. It's black belt and above. I'm working towards my 2nd degree black belt. I will be testing for that in 2019 in June. Yeah, in June of 2019, and so that's pretty cool. Actually, when I went down to Disney to go compete, I was making a vlog and the video got corrupted. Like the file was corrupted when I put it into the video editor. I'm sorry about that, guys, but a little info about Disney. So I know I got my pajamas on because I can't move. Came home with this thing. This is the the Elite World Championship title for continuous sparring in the black belt division. So your boy came home with another world championship. So that's news for 2018 season. My 2018 tournament season is just about over. And so that goes up there with the other world championships and some other trophies. But yeah, I'm hyped, man. Disney was a fun experience. I ate at a hot pot for the 2nd time, and let me tell you what, if you've never eaten at a hot pot, you need to go eat at a hot pot. I'm not sure there's anyone near here, but if you can, like, if you're going somewhere and you search up hot pot, it's just a whole different. Like, if you search up hot pot and there's one in your location or near you, and you want to go to it, you should. It's such an experience. When I lived, well, I don't remember, but I was born in Okinawa, so my dad was a Marine, and so he was on base, because I was born in Camp Lester, the naval hospital there, and so my mom, she was telling me some stories about how when they lived in Okinawa before I was born, going up till I was born, because I think I lived in Okinawa for about like 4 months maybe, like me being born, living there, but before that, so Mom was telling me a story about how they were doing they did a hot pot, and it was like this, but the Nine Spice hot pot in Orlando was so good. You choose your broth, and they got this conveyor belt. It's not like you don't order your meat. It comes on this conveyor belt, and you reach it up off the conveyor belt, and you take it and you put it in your hot pot, and everyone's like, "Well, that's unsanitary. You can't do that. It's nasty." You're putting the meat in boiling water, so I don't matter. It doesn't matter. Now, hot pot makes it or breaks it. The sauce. If you don't have a good sauce when you do your hot pot, it's not gonna be a great experience. Guys, I'd love to tell you more, but I've got to go do some other stuff. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This is the Big Oof Experience. Signing off. I'll catch up with you guys later, maybe this week. And I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Be safe. Have fun. I don't know. Just see ya.